Hello.
Hello.
Over the years, we've been called many things while we're walking down the street. Freaks, rockers, but the one that definitely comes up the most is emo. If I had $1 for every time someone shouted emo at us on the street, I would be a very wealthy man. Especially since that MGK song came out. God, that just really sent it up there. But they're not trying to insult us. No, it's just a problem of education. They don't understand the nuances of the alternative subcultures. We thought this would be the perfect occasion to revive the Wikihow series. And today we're going to be checking out an article on how to know the difference between emo and goth. Now, I'm not gonna lie, last time I anticipated this being terrible, and it actually turned out to be pretty nice and wholesome. So this time I'm going in with a higher level of expectation for quality content in this article, and we'll see whether or not that actually works out. It begins. From the surface, determining the difference between emo and goth subcultures can be pretty tricky. However, giving a closer look at the backgrounds of these subcultures shows some major differences, as both scenes have roots in distinct musical movements. So I mean, off the bat, yeah, pretty correct. Goth and emo are both music-based subcultures. While there is a lot of crossover, you know, both tend to like to wear black, both tend to like black makeup, but when it comes to the music in particular, it's a totally different scene. My favorite part of the WikiHow articles, the illustrations. Emo, a rock music genre characterized by an emphasis on emotional expression, emerged as a style of post-hardcore from the mid-1980s. Goth began in the United Kingdom during the early 1980s, developed by fans of Gothic Rock, a branch of the post-punk music genre. The name goth was derived directly from the genre. It says an branch of the post-punk music genre. So if you're a WikiHow article editor, that's one I'd take a look at after you've watched this video. Also, the name goth being derived directly from the genre, I think, yeah, I'll give that one a pass.
It's kind of surprising that it's not called goth punk. Okay, like post-punk, goth punk, like why is goth punk not a thing? If I had been there, I would have been like, what to call this? Gothic punk or goth punk?
See, goth punk is death rock is the thing, and I kind of understand why the distinction was made, because post-punk was already too many steps away from punk. Gothic rock had kind of moved so far, it didn't really have the punkiness anymore. But then America took care of that for us and just made death rock.
But again, I feel like there's still like a lot of punk elements in goth, not just the fashion, but like like spiky stuff and DIY and stuff like that.
Both terms are rooted in history. While the term emo, which stands for emotive hardcore, I always thought it was emotional hardcore, not emotive hardcore. Maybe I'm wrong. And has its roots in the 80s hardcore punk scene. Goth, on the other hand, which was used to describe the atmosphere of late 70s, early 80s post-punk bands, can be traced back to the term gothic, used by journalists. Interesting fact, the first time that was ever coined was in an article about Jim Morrison and the Doors, because they were interviewing Jim Morrison in like the basement of some LA bar, and it was all like candlelit and spooky, and they referred to the Doors music as being Gothic Rock. And I honestly kind of stand by that. They were like in the 60s, they were at least 20 years ahead of the movement, but there's a lot of elements and stuff in the Doors that I can fully see being used in like early Gothic Rock.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about this a lot actually recently. This is coming up. They're like, were the Doors the first like goth band? Were they the first gothic band? I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I don't feel goth vibes from the Doors. Maybe I need to re-listen, I don't know.
But like, I mean, if you listen to a song like Riders on the Storm, like it's got the atmosphere, it's got the monotonous like deep vocals and stuff.
I just know like the really popular ones. Is that like a really popular one?
Yeah, probably like one of the most popular.
Maybe now I'll go and I'll listen and I'll be like, oh actually, but I've never thought that myself.
2. The history of the goth subculture. Listen to Proto-Goth for an early look at goth culture. Many cite bands such as the Velvet Underground, David Bowie, and the Doors, who were labelled Gothic Rock in 1967.
Right, we're gonna need to take a break and listen to this song.
Influential goth predecessors.
Can I please hear a song? Oh my god. Wait, I'm an idiot. Did I sing People Are Strange?
Yeah.
Just as Conor was showing me that song, I was like, wait a minute. I think I like the Doors. I remember a couple of songs now.
This is Lynn's public apology.
I was getting them confused with somebody else. I don't know why in my head I was like, oh, I don't like the Doors, but I actually really like the Doors.
Yeah, I love the Doors.
And I do get gothy vibes from them, and I have actually like put them on with my friends and stuff. So
Point 3. Post-punk beginning. Susie and the band She's and The Cure give a snapshot of the 1980s goth sound. These artists combined lyrics with a fixation on darkness and depravity, with effects-laden guitars, atmospheric bass lines, and tom-heavy or tribal-sounding drums. However, it wasn't until Bauhaus released their 1979 single Bela Lugosi's Dead that goth really became recognised as a genre and subculture. 4. The development of Gothic Rock. The second wave, spearheaded by Sisters of Mercy, saw a shift in goth sound. During the mid-80s, the genre began to move away from its pure experimental and arty post-punk sound and started to incorporate hard rock elements. Goth's evolution saw the beginning of notable offshoots, including dark wave, which is post-punk crossed with new wave and synth pop. This is like my favourite to listen to era, with like Sisters of Mercy and Clan of Zymox and Rosetta Stone and all those kind of bands coming up. 5. Goth in the modern world. And it has a YouTube video of Molchat Doma as the illustration. And I know there's seriously a lot of like back and forth in the scene about whether or not Molchat Doma are a goth band. Let's face it, we all love them, so we've adopted them. So this will be interesting to see what it lists as modern goth bands, because this is like the biggest point of contention in goth. While goth certainly does have its classic bands, it continues to evolve, with bands like Ploho and Molchat Doma, who gained popularity after their song Sudno went viral on TikTok. Another includes bands such as She Passed Away, Twin Tribes, Traders and Hapax, part of the so-called goth wave genre. A perfect blend of classic goth guitar sounds with signature darkwave synths. That's just darkwave. Darkwave was when we took like post-punk and gothic rock and we mixed it with new wave and stuff. So having bands and calling them goth wave is just darkwave. Definitely hits on some good notes. There are good music points there.
I agree, yeah. I feel like there's a lot missing from that, but at the same time, you kind of want to make these things short, so not everything is like super important. It's really supposed to be about goth versus emo and the difference between that, so you're not really focusing on every little detail.
Like a mini condensed history, and then you'll be able to compare it to emo and understand why they're so different. We need to briefly interrupt the video to say thank you to today's sponsor. And today's sponsor is RandomGothCouple.store. Yes, our merch store. We can sponsor ourselves. There's no laws against it. We recently released the Christ collection in full, so you can get your hands on Jesus is My Homie t-shirts, Jesus is My Homie hoodies, the very un-Christ-like t-shirts, hoodies, and the very, very well requested, very un-Christ-like tote bag. We also have badges, patches, and stickers up on the store. So if you would like to help support the channel and get yourself merch, then be sure to check out RandomGothCouple.store. We really appreciate all the support we received on the new collection, so why don't you go and check it out? It would be very un-Christ-like behaviour of you not to. 6. The early beginnings of emo subculture. Rites of Spring are considered by many as the first emo band because they were whiny post-hardcore music and arguably not very good.
I don't like it.
Every time I try to listen to it, it's really, really grating on the ears. But I understand how bands like My Chemical Romance came after bands like this.
But no, let's not, because My Chemical Romance will come for you for saying that.
I've dunked on My Chemical Romance in previous videos. Come get me, Frank, you coward. Emo also has its roots in music. Many consider the first emo band to be Rites of Spring, a Washington DC band that formed in 1984. Soon after, bands like Embrace and Dag Nasty joined the DC scene and the emo music movement officially began, even if each of these bands have been forthright about hating the term emo.
Well, that's something we have in common.
Are you a goth?
No.
Goth bands don't want to be goth.
Nobody wants us.
And emo bands don't want to be emo. The 1990s Emo Revival. Listen to Midwest emo bands to learn about the 1990s emo music movement. You don't have to tell me twice. I listen to far too much Midwest emo. It's honestly a problem.
It's my biggest issue.
I'm just in the shower crying, listening to men scream about their feelings.
It hurts my ears like nails on a chalkboard.
That's what I love about it.
I don't know.
It makes me feel.
It makes me feel bad.
In the 90s, bands like Sunny Day Real Estate, American Football, and Cap and Jazz made the Midwest the epicenter of the revival. Offshoots of the emo sound started to shape, most notably Screamo.
I like screamo.
I was actually about to say, I don't count emo as having like offshoots, but then I forgot screamo is a thing, you know what I mean?
No, I definitely agree with that. I do think so, especially because I don't actually like emo music. I like screamo and I like other music.
Pop punk and stuff.
I guess pop punk, if My Chemical Romance and stuff are pop punk, because that other bands are emo, I'm not into that.
That's my issue as well with emo, because emo adopted so many of those bands, like My Chemical Romance and Take It Back Sunday and Thrice and like Panic at the Disco and stuff, and arguably none of them really sound like each other or emo music. It's more like alt rock. Obviously it's lifting elements from post-hardcore and emo and stuff, but it definitely feels like a totally different movement, especially when you put it down next to bands like American Football. And then screamo bands like Sayasin and Under Oath, they don't sound like any of those other bands.
The one thing they have in common is they sing about their feelings, so that's why people are like, it's emo. Even though My Chemical Romance is always like a story element, like it's always theatrical. It's not always, oh, I cried today in the park because the ice cream van went by me. If it sounds whiny, like you're complaining, and if it's about feelings, that's kind of why they go into each other. But to this day, there's always the argument about it. My Chemical Romance don't want to say they're emo, but neither do all those other bands, so.
Point 8. The Emo Pop Explosion, and a picture of not a My Chemical Romance album, just a My Chemical Romance logo on an album.
That's the Black Parade logo.
From the late 90s to the late 2000s, emo music burst into the mainstream. What a time to be alive that was, honestly. It was crazy. Emo saw a shift from the unconventional song structures into a catchy, hook-filled fusion of emo and pop punk. Jimmy Eat World officially launched the emo pop movement with their 2001 album, Bleed American. I love that they say officially launched, like Jimmy Eat World held a conference to be like, we're officially launching emo pop music. Part 9. The Emo Revival. The waning commercial popularity of emo pop saw the genre retreat underground. Around the early 2010s, many mainstream emo pop bands either broke up or began to move away from their roots and experiment with other genres. More recently, emo continues to influence present-day artists in a more multifaceted style, with emo rappers like Lil Peep and Princess Nokia bringing innovations to the genre. Billie Eilish is also another great example.
What?
Screamo also showed a similar resurgence, with 2018 summer being labelled the summer of Screamo. Yeah, while I agree with things like Lil Peep and Lil Tracy, etc. being influenced by emo, I don't know about Billie Eilish. Like, yeah, they dye their hair. What about it? I don't really see any other emo elements in Billie Eilish's music.
Bury your friends. That's kind of a emo lyric, I guess.
And I, despite being alive for it, I do not recall the summer of Screamo. Like, what happened in 2018? What did we miss?
I have no idea.
Right? For a grasp on goth fashion, take a look at what goth musicians wore. Staples in goth fashion include black clothing, often in lace or leather, with a DIY air, elaborate and expressive makeups, fishnets, winkle pickers, silver jewellery, and big black combed, often dyed hair. Right, let's do the checklist. How many of these do you think we have right now? DIY air. Got some DIY stuff. Well, I do at least. Expressive makeup. If that's what you want to call this, I was expressing something.
I'm expressing I like bats.
And I'm expressing my lack of talent. Fishnets. Okay, yeah, we got it.
Nope.
You're not fishnets. Winkle pickers.
Nope.
I still don't have a pair of pikes. I need a pair of pikes. Silver jewellery. Yeah, check. Triple check. And big back-combed, often dyed hair. I feel personally attacked. I can't have big hair. I'm an old man, okay? I don't got much left. But you at least tick the box on that one. In the early days, many goths creatively thrifted and made their own clothes. The goal was to take inspiration from their idols without directly copying. And yet still, everybody looked like Robert Smith.
At least my items are thrifted. I have that at least.
If you're going for an emo look, try something a little more casual. Staples of the subculture include band t-shirts, which, you know, goth also includes. So, sweeping bangs. Got a big emo over here. Skinny jeans, beaten up Converse, because if they're brand new Converse, that's not very emo. And you guessed it, heavy eyeliner. If you get cold, wear a sweater.
You're allowed.
Well, what do they mean? That just seems like general advice. 12. Goth music. I feel like we already went through this. Goth music often uses synthesizers, drum machines, and effect-laden guitar. Goth can carry an array of sounds, but usually stands out due to its use of a prominent atmospheric bass and a flanging guitar. Vocal styles are often baritone or drowned out, especially in modern dark wave. Yeah, I love the concept in goth music that you don't even really need to hear the vocalist. He just needs to be there. Oh, I can't really hear what he's saying. Yeah, that's part of the vibe.
This makes me have hope for my career in goth music. I can just be like,
Emo music combines punk-influenced guitars and heart-on-your-sleeve style lyrics. Our final point. Dismiss stereotypes and take this as a general guideline. It's important to avoid making harmful assumptions about any group of people. Learning about particular music and fashion subcultures is a lot of fun, but you should remember that everyone is a unique individual. Avoid generalizing groups of people simply because of the clothes they wear or music they like. Well, that is a decent point to round off on. Dismissing stereotypes and taking it as a general guideline. We've pointed out before, there's a lot of emo music that we enjoy because obviously we grew up in the early 2000s when the emo pop punk boom was at its absolute peak, so they have a bit of a nostalgic thing for both of us. But that doesn't make us any less goth. And of course, there's a lot of goths who will listen to things like Shakira or Britney Spears. General life advice. Avoid stereotyping and making assumptions about people.
Also, can we just say, people are going to be asking, but how do you know if you are goth or emo? How do I choose which one I am? Because I wear both of the fashions or I listen to both of the musics. Whatever one you feel like you want to go towards, then you can say that. You can be like, yeah, I'm goth. I listen to this many bands, but I also listen to this many emo bands. That's absolutely fine. Do whatever you want to do. Nobody should judge you for that.
It's up to you to decide what you identify with and what subculture you take active part in. Thank you so much for joining us in another episode of the Wikihow series. We hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing as it helps us out a lot. As always, a massive shout out to our patrons. They help us to continue make videos like this and we appreciate their support so much. If you would like to help support the channel and also get your hands on our behind the scenes blooper reels and early access to videos, be sure to check out that link in the description down below.
Comment below and let us know who is your favourite non-emo or goth artist. Comment below and let us know your favourite pop artist to really confuse people in the comment section.
Let us know. We cannot wait to find out. And as always, until next time, see you in your nightmares.